Despite Trump's optimism last night, it does seem the White House is taking this issue seriously. Just moments ago, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters that the NSC is looking at what national security risks the app could pose. Kelly?
Emily, thanks very much. Emily Wilkins. Our next guest is quite clear on his stance on DeepSeek, saying it's another way China is undermining American players, copying what they do, then flooding the market with a cheaper option. Joining us now to discuss in today's Tech Check, Heyman Capital Management's Kyle Bass with our very own Deirdre Bosa. Deirdre, kick things off.
Hey, Kyle, thanks so much for being with us. Now, many leaders in Silicon Valley and tech, who I know you talk to also, they actually see DeepSeek's breakthrough as a positive development because it's open source, because it advances AI as a whole. So where do you disagree, and why do you see it as a threat?
Well, I mean, if you look at what China's done with TikTok, what they're doing with DeepSeek, I mean, this $6 million number and this young man in China saying that he created this model with it, I mean, It has not been audited. China lies all the time. It's likely this is a lie. I mean, if you look at China's own press release, they just recently said that China unveiled $1 trillion, $137 billion worth of stimulus to stimulate Chinese AI investment this year. So this $6 million number is dubious at best. It's most likely a lie. And it's because they're trying to use economic statecraft or economic warcraft against us. They're trying to make us rethink what we're paying for our models. If you look at Google, Meta and Amazon together, they are set to spend about $240 billion in CapEx this year on AI alone. You can't tell me that a young man in China can put something together for $6 million that these three companies are spending hundreds of billions on and getting to call it the same place. I mean, what China is really good at is A, lying, and B, introducing things into our market way below real cost. I mean, who's to say that the Chinese Communist Party didn't buy 50,000 H100s from NVIDIA, which would cost about $1.5 billion, and develop this for them and then push it out to him and push a narrative? That narrative is being pushed all over social media today, Deidre.
Right, Kyle, but there's kind of a distinction here, right? Because DeepSeek is open source. We can see how it was built. Even if it wasn't $6 million, you're actually seeing other players come onto the market now, creating similar competitive models that outperform, the biggest, most expensive American ones for as little as $450 out of Berkeley. So, is this just a DeepSeek problem? How do we also, what is sort of the action item around this? It's hard to put the Pandora back into the box now.
The House Committee on Oversight in October of 2024, distributed a pamphlet entitled CCP Political Warfare. Federal agencies urgently need a government-wide approach. When you think about what you just said about someone from Cal Berkeley spending $450 and making it better, the fact that we are being challenged by an intolerant opponent with our tolerance and our openness is affording our mortal enemy a battlefield asymmetry that we shouldn't be affording to them. So this concept of open source, I think, is something that will end up being used against us. We have made a lot of AI open sourced, and I don't think it should be open sourced. I'd imagine many people in our government don't believe it should be open sourced. We're sharing our best and our brightest with our mortal enemy. And you say, well, are they our enemy? Are they our strategic competitor? Go read the threat assessment that the 16 intelligence agencies in the United States publish every March about the largest threats to our national security, our way of life. It's led with China unambiguously the last 5 years running. And then go read some of Xi Jinping's speeches where he says, we must dominate the smokeless battlefield. This is exactly what he's talking about.
Kyle, why then do you think that President Trump is willing to see DeepSeek as competitive and what he called a potentially positive development? And there's been rumors that you might even be joining the Trump team. What would you be telling him?
Look, first of all, as you know, DeepSeek is not my area of expertise. I'm giving you I think economic statecraft and also the composition of markets are where, let's just say, the way sovereigns interface with one another, I would say, is one of my expertises. This is a specific example of something that, have you looked at DeepSeek's terms and conditions, Deidre? Have you read through them? I happened to read through them this morning. They read just like TikTok's. When you accept their terms and conditions, you accept their ability to come into your phone or into your computer and look at all of your chats all of your keystrokes, the manner in which you operate, your passwords. You give them permission to do all of that. It's another digital Trojan horse. And if they make it for free and they make it cheaper than ChatGPT, OpenAI's, or Grok, or whatever
Kyle,
we're going to talk about here, it's a real problem.
It's Kelly here, and I didn't want to jump in, but now I have to. I just have a simple question for you. How does Apple let all of this happen? Whether it's TikTok or if I download, look, I downloaded DeepSeek. I wanted to mess with it. An hour later, I said, forget it. I got off the phone. Our security expert yesterday said, you keep this stuff on your phone. It's not whether you open it or use it. If it's on the phone, you can, in real time, that data is going back to China. It can be literally training their AI models and so forth. Can't Apple stop this from happening?
I mean, look, if I always make a joke in our office, if our national security was left up to the private sector, we'll all be China tomorrow. What you need is leadership, Kelly. You can't expect a private company to shut it down. What you've got to do is you've got to have leadership at the National Security Council through that edifice. You've got to have a leader say, we're not going to allow this to happen in our country. We're not going to allow TikTok, a foreign adversarial program, to be able to broadcast directly into more than 100 million households. It's insanity. And at some point in time, everyone's going to realize it. So to your point, we should never have things like this on our phone.
All right. I just had to ask. The more I think about this, and it's hard because a lot of users are like, look, I like TikTok. I'd like to just use it and not have to worry about this.
And DeepSeek is still number one on the App Store.
Is it really? It's still number one.
It's digital crack. If you leave it up to everyone, they're going to go and follow the thing that they use the most, that they're hooked to.
Yes.
And it's our job as leaders to say, we're not going to allow our number one adversary to create things like this that sucker our whole population. And by the way, they can activate this and get everyone to call their congressman. They can get everyone to really lobby their congressman for keeping it alive.
I know.
And
I have a friend of mine jokes she's going to move to China if they ban TikTok. That's how much people love it. Well, thank you both very much for joining us this afternoon. Deirdre, appreciate you bringing that to us. Kyle, great to hear from you with all of this going on. Kyle Bass and Deirdre Bosa. Still to come, one of the Trump administration's first